Good evening, teacher. Good evening, classmates. My name is Viana Calva, and now I'm going to talk about prescriptive and descriptive approaches. Now, let's start. Prescriptive. The concept. The creation of prescriptive grammar, since sets of grammar must be prescribed so they can be the standard for the language over different varieties of the language. So, as we have different dialects of different phrases that we can use, even in Spanish we have different dialects from city to city. It happens the same in an English country. So the prescriptive approach is like the rules, because we have what is grammar about the structure of sentence in different tenses, how to use certain verbs, how to use third persons, so it helps us to structure a sentence that can make sense in another language. And it helps because, well, to understand to another person, you have to get or to understand some rules in order to the other person to understand what you're saying. A prescriptive approach in EFL learning is essential to learn proper grammar and how to speak accurately. As I said, it is necessary to learn the grammar first in order to speak properly or to structure correctly sentences. It also shows us that some forms are incorrect or improper, lack community effect, as we are sometimes when we talk to our friends we usually used certain contractions or reductions in order to speak clearly so they can understand, but it's not like a formal language. The aims of prescriptive approach. Okay, specific purposes. What style and register is appropriate. It helps us to find standard language forms that are general and formulate the styles and register in a comprehensive way for any level. As I said, we have different levels, so we need to understand each part of the grammar that we are taught in that level. For EFL teaching, it is like an academic language or a formal language that we can use in papers, on words, or in essays, or like to give a presentation. Grammar rules to follow and cannot be avoided to form a sentence or to speak clearly. Well, let's continue. Descriptive. Okay, descriptive grammar's concern is observing how language has been used rather than correcting or telling how the language must be used. In other words, it's like a common language or their dialect that we usually use with friends, with family. It doesn't help when we are writing an essay because it's like informal language. The aims of this one is descriptive, observes and records how language is used. It describes what native people do when they talk, describes the language variations. Sometimes we see on movies, for example, that they use certain phrases, certain idioms. We are going to see on the next one about examples. Okay, now in descriptive approach, we use contractions or reductions. Some contractions are your, his, she's, its, square, there, and reductions like wanna, gonna, have to, cause, and kinda. This kind of language help us to speak in a dialect that they can interact like a natural way, and it's not a standard language. So if a teaching context, it helps us more to learn how to speak to a native. Different dialects do not follow standard rules as a double negative. I haven't done nothing today. For example, that sentence is incorrect or is wrong according to grammar rules. But sometimes when we see movies, for example, we usually hear this kind of sentence. Also, in the spoken language requires use of slangs like chill out, ain't, my bad, some things like that. Okay? Thank you for your attention.